This is a festive group. I love it. This is a day of celebration, celebrating so much that we value. We so appreciate your being here, not only to honor these extraordinary folks, but to honor the humanities in Montana. I am Ken Egan. I'm the Executive Director of Humanities Montana. It's my great pleasure to introduce Mike JETTY, who is a member of the Spirit Lake Dakota Nation. He also is a key leader at the Indian Education for All initiative at the Office of Public Instruction. So, Mike, please join us.
Well, how taki yapi. Yuha chante waste nate tuza. Hello, my relatives. I greet all of you with a heartfelt handshake today, and I'm honored to be here to offer up a song on behalf of all these amazing individuals from Montana. Reading their biographies is just inspiring. So I told my dad just a little bit ago, I said, Dad, I get to be the first on this agenda at the Capitol Rotunda. He said, do you know why, Mike? I said, no. He said, because you're an easy act to follow. But when we sing these honor songs, I'm going to sing you an old Dakota honor song. And we usually stand up and shake the people's hands, but because we're seated like this, I want to sing this song. Everybody sit down, but after I finish, I want everybody up in here to give a standing ovation to the individuals being honored today. I want you to have them hear you in these committee halls to make them wonder what's going on down there, right? And so I'll offer up this song for all the honorees, and then have the program. So thanks, Ken, for having me here today. So. Let's hear it for these folks there.
That was pretty well played.
Thank you so much, Mike. That was a brilliant, perfect way to begin today. So welcome again to the 2019 Governor's Humanities Awards. Every 2 years, Montana's governor joins with Humanities Montana in recognizing Montanans who have dedicated their talents to providing humanities opportunities for all. Before beginning today's ceremony, let us pause to recognize all prior recipients of the Governor's Humanities Awards. Those who have received the award in the past, would you please stand to be recognized? Let us now pause to thank current and former members of Humanities Montana's Board of Directors for all you do for the humanities. Please stand, current and former board members of Humanities. And let's please take a moment to recognize the incredible staff of Humanities Montana. I'm not going to name them, but they are so critical to this work and the work that happens all over the state of Montana. Please join me in applauding them. Humanities Montana's mission is to strengthen communities through stories, conversation, and ideas. Whether through writing superb novels, or preserving a town's history, or composing memorable poetry, or telling the complex story of our region's settlement, or reaching students of all ages with archaeology and literature, this year's awardees have lived out that mission. Consider Stephenie Ambrose Tubbs' extraordinary commitment to sharing the full, complex, multicultural story of the Lewis and Clark expedition and its aftermath, whether through her superb writing, or leading memorable floats on the Upper Missouri River, or working tirelessly for historic preservation. Or think of Ellen Crane's abiding commitment to the history of her hometown, Butte, America, represented not only in her deep knowledge in books such as Motherlode, but in her determination to create the beautiful and necessary Butte Silver Bowl Archives, a repository not just of historical facts, but of community in all its senses. Or reflect on TAMI HAALAND's extraordinary poetry, lyrics that speak to us in their clarity, directness, and grace, poems that reveal how ordinary experiences are full of meaning, struggles, and love. Or pick up one of Thomas McGuane's unforgettable novels, or short stories or essays, and read about Montana in all its quirkiness, humor, perplexity, beauty, and sadness. And consider also how Tom mentors other writers to share their gifts with their communities. Or listen to one of Dr. Elizabeth McNameer's public radio programs dedicated to sharing literature with listeners of all ages. Or spend time hearing about Dr. McNameer's work with many students over the years in an archaeological dig in Israel. Book by book, artifact by artifact, talk by talk, these extraordinary humanists strengthen our communities through story making, storytelling, and story sharing. They invite us all to think more deeply about our lives, to look at Montana from all angles, and to preserve the past that is so essential to our future. We are all the lucky recipients of their extraordinary gifts. Please join me in welcoming our host, Lieutenant Governor Mike COONEY.
Thank you, Ken, and thanks to all of you for being here. Welcome to your beautiful state capitol building. I'm so glad to share this with all of you while you're here, and you always come back. I want to thank you for the nice introduction, Ken, and I want to thank all of you for being here today as we celebrate the importance of humanities to our state, to Montana. You know, growing up in Montana, I was blessed to receive an education that not only incorporated the basics, math, science, reading, but that also allowed me to explore subjects such as history, philosophy, languages, literature, music, and the arts. These studies all help to connect us to the human experience of the past, future, and today. And it's no surprise that the humanities have had a deep impact on my life. Now, I was thinking back, where did I first touch humanities? Well, I'm sure many years before I even think about the incident I'm going to tell you about, but probably what I remember most was my senior year at Butte High, taking creative writing from Dan King And I passed. And it wasn't because of my poetry, it wasn't because of my writing or my storytelling. The note to my parents said, Mike was the most polite guy in class. But I'll take it. These are the humanities. It is the understanding of those who came before us and how the path that they carved can teach us more about our role as humans in this state and on this earth. Humanities studies the activities, encourages self-reflection, and in turn helps us develop a greater sense of civic duty. Whether we realize it or not, the humanities deepen our understanding each and every day of our family, friends, and neighbors, and even citizens all across the globe. I'm a firm believer that public education is a great equalizer. My wife and I, along with our 3 kids, attended public schools across Montana. And I'm grateful that they had the same opportunities as I once did to take music lessons, engage in the performing arts, and learn more about Montana's history and culture through field trips, museums, and literature. I think having the same opportunity is so important for every kid in Montana. I applaud the work of Humanities Montana in ensuring that humanities continue to be a central focus in our schools and for dedicating much of your work to the students of Montana. And what you do impacts more than just our students. You bring Montana and Native American history, culture, literature, and current affairs to life through the conversations and programming, and provide something of value of interest to all Montanans. Grants through the Humanities Montana touches every corner of the state and in the communities who need it the most. Those with limited access to libraries, art museums, or even the internet. Which brings me to this year's Governor's Humanity Award honorees. From historians who write of Lewis and Clark, the Lewis and Clark expedition, to poets who encourage literary engagement, to directors of historic preservation. And from our educators to our community storytellers, we're lucky to have such wonderful individuals across the state who are committed to providing Montanans with access to art, literature, and our unique cultural heritage. Many of you have devoted decades of your lives to supporting and promoting humanities. You've engaged countless Montanans in ways that bring us all closer together, bridging some of our widest gaps and building more resilient communities. And you've opened up a whole new world of ideas to folks all around us. Again, thank you. Thank you for letting me be here with you today to recognize your outstanding achievements. Now let's present the 2019 Governor's Humanities Award.
Good afternoon. My name is Tobin Miller-Scheer. I have the honor and privilege of serving as the director of the chair of the Board of Directors of Humanities Montana, and it is my additional distinct honor to get to introduce to you today our honorees. We will call them up individually. After I read their name and a brief citation, they will receive their hardware and some heartfelt handshakes, and then offer us some brief words. First off, Dr. Elizabeth McNameer is a religious studies professor at Rocky Mountain College who has introduced Montana students to archaeology in Israel and Montana citizens to literature through public radio programs. Congratulations.
Good afternoon. I am Elizabeth McNameer, and the humanities have guided my life. My introduction to humanities, I think, started with my mother's milk, with hearing the lullabies that I heard, that assured me that the world was a loving, safe place to be. As I progressed on and learned nursery rhymes and fairy tales, they guided me in what was the right behavior and not the right behavior. Continuing on, I grew up in a small village in Ireland where there was no ready-made entertainment. There were only 200 people in the village. So we made our own entertainment by gathering round the piano to sing songs. In fact, I learned my Irish history through singing the songs of Ireland. There is a saying, don't tell me the history of the country, just let me listen to their songs, and I will know it all. So anyway, in the evenings, what was there to do? Very little. The war was going on in Europe, so we listened to the only radio there was, which was in my house, and we listened to that, and then we would sit round the fire in the evening, reading the classics. There was one incident, I had a brother, well, I had 4 brothers, but one of them, Freddie, was always hitting me. And I remember going as a child to my father and telling him, oh, what am I going to do about Freddie? And crying and crying. And my very gentle, erudite father said, here, my pet lamb, come and sit with me and let's see what Aristotle would advise us to do in this situation. So this was introduction, and Aristotle became a guiding light. He said the most important things ever in life are to choose the right partner in life, and to choose the right career and the right philosophy of life. And that has really made my life what it is. And I'm sure you remember that Harry Truman, when he was asked what was the biggest choice he ever had to make, even though he had the atom bomb dropped, he said, asking Margaret to marry me. So all the philosophy that's right there. I didn't meet up with Shakespeare till I went to school in England when I was 11. And on the very first weekend, we went to see Laurence Olivier in Hamlet. And oh my God, it struck me. It started an affair with Shakespeare that continues, of course, to this day. We learned the plays, we learned all the soliloquies by heart. The wisdom that's in Shakespeare is just incredible. And of course, we were introduced to music. All of the how to live your life is contained in the humanities. How can you possibly listen to Beethoven's Ninth Symphony and not be filled with joy? Or go and see the paintings of Van Gogh, the sunflowers, the irises, and not rejoice in beauty? Who was it who, Keats, I think it was, who said, in this world, beauty is truth, truth, beauty. In this world, this is all you know and all you need to know. Of course, the humanities have guided society from the beginning. The ancient Greeks insisted on people going to see drama because it helped them to relate to each other. We know that maybe the Uncle Tom's Cabin was what helped to bring slavery to an end in America. And a letter from a Birmingham jail by Martin Luther King, and To Kill a Mockingbird, awakened America's consciousness to the evils of racism. So, and then we remember in England that Dickens, Oliver Twist, made them all change everything, their whole attitude to the poor and the underprivileged. So the humanities have been very useful. In the Second World War, it was the poets, Siegfried Sassoon and all of them, who actually were being called traitorous who helped bring that war to an end, where they wrote things like, if you had seen the cart that we threw him in, foaming at the mouth from the poison gas, you would never say again it is a grand, glorious thing to die for. It has guided society from the beginning. Humanities is terrible, they're terribly important. That we keep on supporting the humanities is important. And anyway, as I say, they have had such a large effect on my life. As I say, Aristotle was the one who helped me form my philosophy, which really was from Christianity, to choose my profession, which is teaching, and most especially, perhaps, to choose the right partner in life. I chose Bill McNameer, and we're happily married for 50 years. He died, and he remarried another one. Who was an equally great man. So anyway, thank you so much for this award, and keep on valuing the humanities. We can't do it without them. The humanities will save us in the long run. So thank you to the humanities of Rotunda.
I am being reminded to tell you to speak into the mic. I now have the privilege of introducing you to Ellen CRAIN. Ellen CRAIN is the longtime director of the Butte Silver Bowl Archives, who is an expert on Butte's history and led the campaign to refurbish the current archives building, a model of historic preservation.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor COONEY, good old Butte boy. It's such a pleasure to be awarded this award. It was an honor for me to serve Humanities Montana as their board chairman and to work with the great people at Humanities Montana. I have to say that I was graced to be able to live where I live and to work in the greatest little place in the world. The humanities are central to the archives. Archives are the well of history. So it has been an important component of my life. It feeds my soul. I also want to say I'm honored to receive this award with this very prestigious group of people here. I am deeply honored for that. So I came here today to say no one achieves anything alone. And I have an awesome family, for I too married the right person. And I have incredible friends, and they keep me grounded and real, and I get away with nothing. But I want to really thank today my board of directors and my friends of the Archives Board of Directors, because they are the people who have made me push the boundaries. And when I pushed those boundaries and the government said, "What are you doing over there?" my board came in behind me and said, "We're doing it." And my friends paid for it, and that is a major thing. But I also live in a place where a community that honors its history so greatly that they supported a bond issue to build a brand new archives by 75%. It was an astounding turnout, but it is because they respect their history. I also want to thank my staff because they're awesome. They correct my spelling. They are sure that I look presentable when I go out in public. They help me with punctuation every day. They tell me that I can't be on their spelling team, which is fine. But they really reminded me, both the board, my friends, and especially my staff, that this is not for me, this is for them as well. So I, in good old good fashion, brought all of them with me. And I really thank you. You make me a better person, and I appreciate that. And that's all I have today.
It's a good thing to bring your friends. I now introduce you to Stephenie Ambrose Tubbs. Stephenie Ambrose Tubbs is a historian, public humanities presenter, and engaged nonprofit volunteer who is well known for her books on the Lewis and Clark expedition, including Why Sacagawea Deserves the Day Off, Lessons from the Lewis and Clark Trail.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to see you all here this afternoon, and I'd like to thank the Lieutenant Governor and Humanities Montana and all the sponsors, and especially my friends Patty Dean and Kat Imhoff, and all who traveled to be here on this cold day. Once Upon a Time describes the effect the humanities have had on my life. My parents shared their unquenchable passion for the arts and embarking on history-based adventures across the country, and so my brothers and sister and I grew up immersed in the humanities and liberal arts. They impressed us with the importance of place and the stories that connected people to place. It was their love of story that brought me to Montana. It was their love of culture and history that gave me an early appreciation for place, and for this place in particular. Part of our early travels in Montana centered on two leaders, not Lewis and Clark, but Crazy Horse and Custer, who first brought me to Montana, and in a crazy twist of fate, had us reenacting the Battle of the Little Bighorn in a local community production a stone's throw from where it actually happened. My education at the University of Montana taught me not only the history of the state, it triggered a curiosity and an undying desire to learn about people and their connection to place, as represented by their art, their stories, and their culture. I recently read an article on the need for the humanities in these times. It suggested that studying the humanities is a challenge because, unlike other fields of study, it does not provide definitive answers. Instead, studying the humanities simply raises more questions. In other words, it asks you to stay interested, stay curious, and pay attention, something I like to think we all try to do every day. As you all know, story takes many forms. It can be found in a bowl of steaming hot gumbo or in the pattern of your family's favorite old quilt. The best stories require some effort to understand, to come to terms with, and to ultimately realize that those are the stories that are the ones that are never really concluded. They keep us guessing, as my husband John would like to say. Fortunately for me, I have a partner whose parents also appreciated stories. He's always willing to go the longer way in pursuit of culturally based adventures, from obscure historic sites to unique community events like the pig races in Bear Creek, Montana. His enthusiasm sometimes goes overboard, but nevertheless it inspires me to see what is around the next bend or the next switchback. Over the years, I have admired and congratulated previous honorees. I never imagined that I would be among them. I am truly honored, thanks to Humanities Montana, the friends who supported my nomination. Here we go, one more page. And my husband, and my sister Grace, my family, my teachers, Governor and Governor Bullock for this honor. Although I did not have the good fortune to be born in Montana, I have lived here for some 40 years, and I like to tell Native Montanans when they are recording or recounting the number of Montana generations they represent, that for me it took some effort. I chose to live here. Most especially, I am grateful to my parents for their love of story-based adventures and for bringing me home to Montana, the treasured state.
We will now hear from TAMI HAALAND. TAMI HAALAND is a statewide leader on poetry education who has served as Montana's Poet Laureate and volunteers extensively in the Billings area to encourage literary engagement among citizens of all ages and backgrounds.
Thank you all for coming. It was so cold. My brother was going to be here, but it was 40 below on the High Line, and so his pickup wouldn't start. But I want to say thank you to family and friends, to my husband and my sons, to my cousins who are here in a mass, my niece. Thank you so much. I want to begin with a little story. After my mother died on the High Line, and my brothers and I were going through the house, I found a puzzle that I must have had as a small girl. It was a bright image of a little girl at a zoo with cartoon character animals like flamingos, tigers, zebras, and some of the pieces for the puzzle were in the shape of animals. When I saw it, I felt such joy. It took me straight back to my early childhood and what it must have felt like when all of the pieces fit together to create this image. That early joy at figuring things out, at discovering what it feels like to put it all together, is similar to the experience of working in the humanities. I can think of many times in the classroom when students were baffled by a particular poem or story or novel, but in the process of engaging with each other, reflecting and gradually working our way through something together, we arrived at an aha moment when things seemed to fit together, and the students were proud of themselves for having traveled this course with their peers. That's what the humanities can do for us and for our societies. By working together, we arrive at something larger than what we would come to alone. And of course, I'm oversimplifying because in fact, there are always deeper layers as we look at history, literature, and the arts. We can always understand more over time, and we can ask different questions. It's one of the most satisfying feelings I know to share this experience with others. And I am so grateful to Humanities Montana for facilitating this work in Montana, for all the Poets Laureate, and for so many of us in the Montana Conversations roster. My thanks to everyone who supported my nomination for this award, and my thanks to Humanities Montana, to the governor, and to the state of Montana. I'm proud to say that I live here and look forward to many more years of sharing poetry, the arts, and the humanities with Montana communities. Thanks.
And last but not least, Thomas McGuane. Thomas McGuane is an award-winning, nationally prominent writer who has captured Montana in all its complexity in his novels, short stories, and essays.
Thank you very much. Now we get the colors. This is an exciting time for me, a moment of acceptance from the community I love so much. I grew up at a time when Americans still liked each other. And in Montana, we do still like each other. I hope we can set an example for the rest of the world. I saw when Governor Willett suggested he might run for president, even his adversaries in local politics had nice things to say about him. That wouldn't happen anywhere else. I hope you all understand that. Don't let that slip away from us. Well, as I traveled here, I made a mishmash of notes, which you are now to be victimized by, about the humanities. And one of my grievances about the funding situation we have for the humanities is it's always based on the position that after we take care of the real world and science and technology, then we'll turn to what the humanities have to offer. And I have absolutely the reverse view, which is since our burden in life is to figure out who we are and what we believe, the humanities really are the most important thing that we can be studying. But as I wrote these notes down, I should really not to share this with you, but as I wrote these down, I thought, what are the consolations that the humanities offer us in the world we live in today? And so I made a list of all the things that piss me off. I'll rattle through them because our attention fragmented by the internet. That's hard on the humanities because people can't pay attention like they used to be able to. Newspapers infested with spam. Noise rising in the world. Other people. The compelling national melodrama. Breaking news. We know now that organized religion is kind of losing ground. Marriage, data says, is losing ground. Nature is losing its protections, and we are less part of the urbanized world. The Justice Department, the Supreme Court, and the FBI are under fire. For somebody my age, this is unbelievable. Voting security is in danger. Thanks to technology, we have a widespread loss of privacy. We have universal access for all ages to pornography.
And then at the end of that list, I said, what am I happy about? And I said, wrote down, the humanities offer us the only stable value system available in telling us not only who we are, but who we all are. If after 2 world wars we find Germans implausible, then read All Quiet on the Western Front. If you think African Americans are not entitled to their grievances, read Richard Wright's Black Boy. If you find difficulty in sympathizing with the plight of Americans, read James Welch's Death of Jim Loney. If you wonder why the Russians are annoyed that we think we won World War II, read Valerie Grossman's A Writer of War. And consider the humanity of the 26 million people the Russians lost. If, like most of us, you spent many hours trying to understand your parents, whether they're still alive or not, I say this, my children and grandchildren here. I know they're trying to figure me out. They need to read about the lives I lived and the times I lived in, which they don't know, they're too young. Anyway, in short, the humanities are the key to emotional and spiritual stability in an extremely and increasingly unpredictable world. Thank you.
I know we just finished clapping, but please join me in another round of applause for all of them. You have honored us with your excellence and your contributions to the humanities in Montana. Thank you all. We now are privileged with hearing a few words from Robin Madison, representing Senator John Tester. Robin.
Thank you. If Senator Tester was here, I'm sure he would be very embarrassed by this message compared to all of your very creative and heartfelt messages about your awards. So, quick message from Senator Tester. Dear friends and awardees, thank you for allowing me to share a few words. I want to congratulate you all on the groundbreaking work you've done in the humanities. As a teacher, I know firsthand the importance of education, particularly in the so-called soft sciences. But there isn't anything soft about them. In fact, the humanities are under attack. Tight budgets and diminishing funding, but at a time when they are so divided, those skills in critical thinking and communicating and writing have a unique power to unite us. This year's awardees have shown tremendous leadership in their fields. Thank you again for your commitment, your dedication, and your impact to our state. We need you to keep going. We need you to keep teaching and learning. On behalf of all Montanans, thank you and congratulations. Thank you for uniting us for this great celebration. Congratulations, John Tester.
Heartfelt thanks to our honorees. You do us honor. It's an honor to be with you. And I want to thank Lieutenant Governor COONEY. You're a wonderful host. Thank you so much. And thank you, Mike, for that very moving honor song. It's very moving. So. I hope you will join us tonight at the Marriott Colonial. We have a banquet. The celebration continues. Bill Pullman will be the keynote speaker, and William Marcus, who has deep roots in Humanities Montana, is going to be our host. So I'm serious. I hope you can join us. It's going to be a lovely occasion. And I hope you go forth and bring the warmth of the humanities to this very cold day. Be well, and thank you for being here tonight.